could we all please rise for the Right Honourable, the Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Basil Zemplis.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the City of Perth Special Council meeting. I'm going to formally declare the meeting open at 4:01 p.m. The purpose of this meeting is to present the Lightscape Major Event Leveraging Opportunity for consideration of Council. Before we do that, can I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people of Western Australia, and pay our respects to past, present and future leaders. It is always a great privilege and pleasure to be standing on Whadjuk Noongar country. And CEO, can I ask you please to recite the prayer?
Almighty God, under whose providence we hold responsibility for this city, grant us wisdom to understand its present needs, foresight to anticipate its future growth, and grace to serve our fellow citizens with integrity and selfless devotion. And to thee be all blessing and glory forever. Amen.
Thank you, everybody. Please be seated. As we always mention, please note that in accordance with Council Policy 1.4, this meeting is being live streamed and the recording will be made available on the City's website following the meeting. In attendance today, we have Councillor Sandy Angie, Councillor Di Bain, Councillor Clyde Bevan, Councillor Brent Fleeton, Councillor Rebecca Gordon, Councillor Catherine Leeser. In addition, I welcome the Chief Executive Officer, other officers, members of the public and any media in attendance or watching online. Hello to you all, wherever you may be. I note that Councillor Coe is not with us and I believe is going to be an apology tonight. And Deputy Lord Mayor Liam Gobbett is currently on an approved leave of absence. I'm going to say that again to get his name right. Deputy Lord Mayor Liam Gobbett is currently on an approved leave of absence. Item 4 on the agenda is disclosures of interest. So, CEO, have we received any tonight?
No, Lord Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Item 5, before I get to, is if any elected members might have some disclosures of interest from the floor. Does anybody, councillors, anyone? Anyone? No. Okay. Item 5, public participation. 5.1 is public question time. Now, noting that this is a special council meeting in accordance with Regulation 7 of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996, questions must relate to the purpose of the meeting. So, have we got any public questions received?
No, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. And are there any public questions from the floor? It would appear not. Item 5.2 is deputations. Now, as councillors would know, usually deputations are not heard at council meetings. However, there was no agenda briefing session held for this special council meeting, so therefore I have permitted deputations to be heard. CEO, have any deputations been received?
Yes, Lord Mayor, a deputation has been received from the Western Australian Botanic Garden.
Thank you. So I will now invite West Australian Botanic Garden representative Sue McDougall, I believe, that's coming forward, accompanied by the Executive Director, or just in the room, you don't both have to, only one of you speaking? Only one of you speaking. The Executive Director, take it, sitting down there. You're happy to stay there. You're most welcome to. And that's Alan Barrett, Botanic Gardens and Park Authority. You're speaking, Sue McDougall, for the officer's recommendation in item 6.1. So please come forward to the lectern. I'm going to remind you there's 5 minutes for deputations. If I can ask you to state your name and your address, and then 5 minutes will begin.
The WA Botanic Garden, and my address is 795 Railway Terrace, Sawyers Valley. Botanic Garden is 1 Kajit Place in Kings Park. Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to Lightscape, for Lightscape, and also I'd just like to acknowledge the relationship we've had as an operational relationship with the City of Perth, with many projects that are happening around the city, with the shared path that we have, our other projects with our planting scape that's already happened. So to follow on for that relationship, we're actually very pleased and very excited to be able to present for you Lightscape. And just a little bit of background about Lightscape. This event has been an overwhelming success since its inception. And because of the unique positioning in the market, the activation of spaces in a traditional and quiet time and in places where the natural landscape is a predominant feature, they've brought a demographic of visitor to the city and also to their natural environment that wouldn't have visited that area otherwise. So 2022 was the first year that Lightscape came to Australia. It was originally due to debut in 2010, but it was delayed a couple of years. Now, 2022 was such a sellout success in Melbourne, and despite logistical challenges at that time, it gave BGPA success and confidence that we could present this event in Western Australia in the truly unique West Australian Botanic Garden. So we're excited about activating the city with 155,000 visitors in traditionally a quiet time that the Botanic Garden really in a unique way. So we've secured a 5-year contract and agreement, and if we use the Melbourne Botanic Garden as an example, we've had an incredible opportunity to make a difference to our city at least until 2027. So in the first year, ticket allocations were increased due to the success of the event, and the time of activation of Perth events is traditionally summer. So Melbourne's presenting partner was Red Energy, and because they were late to the event, they really took on the challenge of activating in winter and made an incredible success, and they've signed on for 2023 again. So we believe that Lightscape perfectly aligns with City of Perth's branding, City of Light, and with no major long-term events planned in winter throughout the city, it's a fantastic opportunity to own winter activation through Perth. So Kings Park is at least a third of the space or the size of the City Perth area, and we've got incredible opportunity to align for BGPA and City of Perth to align and present an activation that spans for a period of 6 weeks. So we have 33 night activations, and in the event of a sellout, there's opportunity and contingency to expand and factor in with ticket sales and increase the openings to a later event. So as a presenting partner, City of Perth's logo would stand alongside Sony and BGPA in the state government logo. And underwrite, we're required to raise 40% of our operating budget within the year. So we've included an example of the marketing posters from Melbourne to show what our presenting partner would actually look like within a event of Lightscape. So this event already has been launched, and that's one thing I wanted to tell you. It was actually a soft launch, and with the organic nature of the local marketing, it was just to capture a little bit of the Christmas gift purchases. We felt if we didn't do that, the event might be lost amongst traditional summer events. So the time of activation, as I just said earlier, is summer, and we thought we'd like to get people a feeling of Lightscape. So with the marketing and advertising, that ramps up in mid-May. And until mid-May, approximately 10% of the marketing spend has been completed. So 90% of the total spend is booked and planned for mid-May until the end of the event. So we work that with sales history. So evidence has told us that 10% of tickets are booked up until May, and that's exactly what's happened and how we're tracking with our Lightscape event in Kings Park. So we still do have the printing of collateral and billboards and signage of the event, and I've put that on hold pending the outcome of Council's decision today, but we want to maximise the profile of Lightscape and really benefit the leveraging opportunities to profile City of Perth as a presenting partner for Lightscape for 2023. So leveraging off City of Perth's reach is a very important part of presenting partnership proposal. So in anticipation of a successful partnership, but it's important to plan, and at the risk of getting ahead of ourselves, we'd like to invite City of Perth to join us for Lightscape for 4 more years also. So we're focusing on the importance of Western Australian flora and the green spaces in Perth. And as a presenting partner, the city has the opportunity to present the neon tree installation. So the neon tree was selected to focus on the importance of the urban tree canopy and the extent of our iconic tuart trees. We actually have 9 across City Lightscape this year. So as the trees are incredible in the Botanic Garden, We are also highlighting a trail of 1.8 kilometres of installations from above the ground and an interactive space. So I believe an exciting opportunity exists to build a long-term relationship with BGPA, as does a team with BGPA and the City of Perth, and to build the brand City of Lights. So thank you very much for your consideration for our event.
Thank you. So I might invite you just to stay there on the off chance that any councillors have any questions. I might just go first. So a note what you said about the printing and collateral. It's the 9th of May, and you talked about mid-May. If there was a favourable decision tonight from the City of Perth, have you got time to get the City of Perth onto all of that material?
Certainly have. It's waiting there to go. So in anticipation, we will have it just as long as we can get that branding onto it, it's ready to go. So the timing is a quick turnaround, and I've actually considered that and I've asked for that. So everyone's just waiting on a decision to press yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
further? Yes, Councillor Fleeton.
Thanks for the deputation. Really good numbers and informative. Just wanted to know what the staff would be allowed to do by way of coming into Kings Park for video footage capture, our own marketing, without sort of necessarily going through whatever process you might have with Sony. Is the structure going to allow our team to run up there and just capture footage themselves?
Absolutely. What we will have is a license agreement to say you have access at any time, and particularly if something's happening, we can collaborate and say, quick, come up here, you know, there's something exciting happening. And then we often have, for filming, we have permission that you have to have permission at Kings Park, but we would set that up so all I'd have to do is just say, I'm here, this is what I'm planning to do, or just a common point to let everyone know. So, yeah, full access.
Councillor Fleeton.
Just one follow-up. One of your closing comments was a 5-year deal and hope to be a part of it. Not to put you on the spot now and not to talk future numbers, but is it possible in whatever relationship we set up here that we would be able to name it longer term rather than just 1 year?
Yeah, certainly. And to give you an indicator what happened in Melbourne, so Melbourne's sellout success, they had Red Energy late, not understanding the event or knowing what was happening in the event, and that was late. Red Energy came on, and then as soon as it had finished, they said, we're signed up for next year. And in anticipation of that, they had a sellout success, added tickets to it. So then building on, I believe that there's capacity to build on numbers also, so extend the times of the event so you actually get better numbers for a similar time. So yes, there's definitely possibility.
Are there any further questions from any councillors? Councillor Bain.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you for the deputation and coming to Council House tonight.
Thank you.
If you don't have this funding, will the event go ahead?
The event will go ahead. We won't have the support for access. It just makes it harder. So, yeah, it doesn't allow the profiling of what we can do with the event. And, yes, it will go ahead. We have to do it. It just allows you to do some extra things that make it more successful. And also, I think the opportunity to build the branding and the partnership of Kings Park within City of Perth, and also City of Perth is part of Kings Park. I think that's where we're heading as well, and really building that that activation through winter and understanding something that's happening together. I mean, we stand on the hill, but something that's happening within all of Perth. I believe this event, or we believe this event, is far greater than Kings Park. It's a Perth event, and I think if we can have it as a Perth event and brand it as a Perth event, when I say the sky's the limit, we've got huge opportunity to build on it for 5 years.
Are you happy to share the total cost of the event?
I would if I actually know, and I might have to refer to Alan for that. I actually haven't bringing it together, but I can share that at a later date. Yeah, but I know it is in the millions, if I'm clear. So, yeah, but we can get that to you. Happy to share it. Yeah, but
And just a couple more, if that's okay. You mentioned that a significant part of this funding will go towards marketing. You said that you've only spent 10% of your marketing budget. What's your total marketing budget, and where do you anticipate your marketing will mostly?
So in the proposal, we have radio coverage, TV coverage. The total spend is $350,000. This is marketing and advertising, but that doesn't include what we're doing to support what we call the organic marketing that goes with that. And so we haven't included transport services or anything within that marketing budget. That includes the billboards that we've got. That includes the small booklet that we're producing, which we wouldn't do if we didn't have any extra funds for that.
And just one final question: is it majority? Is the event a free event?
No, it's a ticketed event, so it's a family to buy tickets. So the tickets are, for an adult, it's $40. For a concession, so a ticketed event and a timed event. So with the time slots, they work at quarter every 15-minute time slots, and you book either an anytime ticket, which is a little bit more expensive, or a particular timed ticket that's a little bit less, and or a family ticket. So then you have a time to get to the lightscape. You can spend as much time as you like wandering around, but being a 1.8 kilometre trail, you find there's pinch points or stopping points, and some of the most, like Neon Trees is one of the most successful. The Winter Cathedral, which has hundreds of thousands of lights, that's another stopping point. And so you can spend all night in the event if you want to, but a timed entry, and that stops this pinch point of people wanting to come at a certain time.
Thank you, and congratulations on the event. I think it's going to be a huge success.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Councillor Bain. Yes, Councillor Gordon.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you for the deputation. I'm just looking at some of the photos in the material we've been provided, and it's on grass, and I was just wondering if consideration has been given to accessibility requirements for mobility impaired people.
Yeah, there certainly is. So the whole trail is actually, for Western Australia, is in the path, on our pathways. So we've kept it that. Incredible work goes into making sure there's accessibility, and there was actually, in the planning, there was a spot where we couldn't go, and so we've had to change it around. So the trail has taken a little while to get to this, and then we think we've able to highlight it in a position where we've got accessibility. So if not all of it, 90% of it. So we do have the bridge open at night, and we still have accessibility. Some people might feel a little bit funny about that bridge over it at night, but we still ensure it fits those rules and the accessibility. So I think there's one installation that might be very difficult, but we've got a sidetrack for that.
Yeah. And a second question, if I may, whether any consideration was given to having a satellite installation in the city, or whether that could be considered in future years?
Yeah, that can be considered in future years, and yes, there was, definitely, and it was the cost of the installation. So we've talked about projections and what opportunities there are, but it's understanding now if there's an opportunity for future years, we've got a whole year to plan it, and then we can look at what opportunities there are and maybe activating space around that, so that can it was a tight time frames this year, it just didn't work. Thank you.
Councillor Angie.
Thanks for the presentation. So the installation's bespoke for WA, or the same ones in Melbourne?
No, they're bespoke for WA. So when I say bespoke for WA, we have 2 local Indigenous artists doing some bespoke installations. The Neon Tree in Western Australia, in Melbourne it's 1 tree, in WA it's 9 trees, because we've just got such an incredible opportunity to highlight those beautiful short trees that we thought it was just too good an opportunity. So the creative directors from CCL walk through it again, we look at it and see what opportunities. So the theme for this year is the conservation of seeds, and talking about these seeds and what we do in the Botanic Garden. So we've really highlighted the installations that fit in with that. So we have gobo lights, which the Fitzroy Crossing artists are talking about that. So that's a unique bespoke Western Australian artwork, and every year we build on that. So there's at least 2 local West Australian artworks, and then talking to the creative directors, anyone who has the ideas, we can then work on what we might want to look at or see for next year. So they get carted around the world, very different to what was happening in Melbourne as far as installations. So those unique installations really reflect on the natural environment. So if we've got some incredible trees we want to feature, it might be called the same, but it's just very different. We also have a unique, so our Rose of the West, or our West Australian Modical Eucalyptus macrocarpa, is this incredible, beautiful grey foliaged flower. So these are being manufactured, these giant lights, illuminated lights that are hanging for our West Australian flora also. So that's a unique one that probably will be used at another event somewhere, but it reflects Western Australian flora.
Thank you, Sue. Are there any further questions from anybody? Oh, okay, thank you very much both for being here. We appreciate you. You're welcome to stay, of course, should you wish. And I'll just check, but I don't believe there are any further deputations from the floor. Would appear not. So we move to item 6, reports. Before we go to 6.1, major event leveraging opportunity, CEO, I believe there's an update.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. The General Manager has asked to update the paper.
Thank you, through you, Lord Mayor. I would like to apologise for an oversight in the preparation of this item. The report should state the voting requirement as an absolute majority rather than simple majority. My apologies for that.
Thank you very much. Okay, so absolute majority we're hearing. Okay, thank you. All right, then, well, I'm going to move the officer's recommendation, and I'll look tonight for a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Leeser. Well, I'll open up by saying, to me, this looks like a no-brainer for the city, and I hope my fellow elected members see it that way also. As per our event strategy, the city has a vision for Perth to be the events heart of WA, and the strategy states the city will facilitate and support a portfolio of events which provide enriching experiences throughout the year, including winter. And this is exactly what this sounds like to me. As we know, some events we put on ourselves, like our City of Light shows. Some we facilitate, some we support financially and with marketing. Whichever way we do it, the aim is to activate our city. And the opportunity to partner with Kings Park Botanic Gardens in the first year of the Lightscape event, an event which has been held in cities around the world and, as we've heard, has been enormously popular, and put our name and our stamp on it for what appears to be a relatively modest amount of money and some in-kind support, is one that I think we shouldn't pass up. So the dates from the 16th of June to the 30th of July, 6 weeks during winter, Lightscape, powered by the City of Perth, would be lighting up our city, an event of international standing happening in our own backyard with our own name on it. It's the winter activation we've been looking for this winter, and it's found us, and we can own it beyond this year, as we have just heard. And we don't have to put it on. We just support it, promote it and leverage it, like we did with Van Gogh Alive last winter, which worked so well. With Lightscape, we get the opportunity to activate one of our neighbourhoods, the West Perth neighbourhood. All parking is free in West Perth after 6 p.m. I envisage a campaign that says bring the family in, park in West Perth, grab a meal first, and then wander in and see the show. Perhaps have a drink with friends before the show or after the show, before you head home, whichever way you want to do it. So it's a bonus that we can support our West Perth community, our retailers and business owners who we've all said we want to support. Plus it furthers our relationship with Kings Park, one of the iconic jewels in our city's crown. And clearly, as Sue herself said, the event fits perfectly into our City of Light theme and branding. Lightscape, brought to you by or powered by the City of Perth for less than $200,000 in cash, is a bargain for naming rights. It gives us a winter event in our city, activates West Perth, gives us the opportunity to invite and include our community, and ticks all of our event strategy boxes without us having to do the heavy lifting of putting on the show. And some of those numbers we heard again, 155,000 visitors to West Perth and Kings Park in winter with our name on it, the activation of spaces that aren't normally activated at a quiet time of the year, visitors that wouldn't otherwise come. We'd be associated with a global brand in Sony and with a West Australian treasure like Kings Park, and we heard of the sellout success in Melbourne. And as well as all of that, we get to highlight our own unique tree canopy in Kings Park. And I did hear a question about would the event take place without our funding, and I'm pleased to hear that it will continue despite or regardless of the outcome tonight. We could also argue, of course, that events that we support in this chamber, events that we all love like Perth Festival and Fringe, they receive funding from us. They too, of course, would proceed with or without our funding, but are enhanced by what the City of Perth can throw behind them. And I hope that fellow councillors will support the City of Perth throwing our support behind this one and indeed adding our name to Lightscape in the inaugural year. Councillor Leeser.
I think you've said it all, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or for?
I just had a question.
Sure.
Firstly, so why are we getting in so late in the piece? Like obviously marketing and printing's on hold. So why? Why is that?
My understanding of that is that the opportunity came to us late. So the opportunity has only recently come to us, but CEO, you might like to expand?
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Yes, we have been obviously in discussion since 2022 with Kings Park. Also, elected members did have this opportunity raised with them in February, which was part of the agreed activation budget for 23-24. And then on the 28th of April, I think everything crystallised into an opportunity which we are seizing and putting before council, consistent with your request that we look for winter activations.
But further to Councillor Angie's question just then, in terms of the naming rights opportunity, that wasn't being discussed in February. Otherwise, we would have heard about it prior, I assume.
No, I think the first we heard was at the meeting on the 28th of April.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Angie.
So just one more question. So the profit, does that go to Sony or Kings Park?
CEO, through you.
I'm not certain about that. Could we take that on notice unless, of course...
Well, if everyone's comfortable with that, I'm certainly comfortable. We may as well ask who we would otherwise be asking anyway. So, Sue, would you like to come forward and perhaps answer that for us on the run? Just put your microphone on if you could. Just push the button down. That's it.
Yeah.
Went off.
Deciding to...
There we go.
Yeah. The profit is split, Kings Park and Sony.
Anyone wish to speak for or against?
Sure, I'd like to speak for it, Lord Mayor. I think this event ticks all the boxes and we should support it. You've already spoken about all the benefits and got it exactly right. It's a world-class event. It's being held during the winter months. I see this as a great opportunity we should not let pass us by, and I see it really as a gift to the City of Perth.
Thanks, Councillor Bevan. Anyone wish to speak against?
Some more questions?
Sure, Councillor Gordon.
First question is regarding the provision of in-kind marketing. How are we providing that and how are we going to value it?
Thank you, CEO.
If we could invite the General Manager, Community Development, please.
Thank you, through the Lord Mayor. Item Council Resolution Part 3, or the recommendation, is for further authorisation of the CEO to execute the agreement once we've got to some of that detail. So noting that the proposal came to us only just over a week ago, there are conversations happening of what that could look like as in kind, and it could potentially look like another arrangement. So in terms of the amount, the $200,000 is quite clearly the limit that we are looking for as an ambit. In terms of valuation for in-kind, they are conversations we've already started with corporate communications.
Councillor Good.
Thank you. And I guess similar question with regards to the provision of public transport. The Lord Mayor's referred to West Perth. I'd envisaged it would be a bit further afield. Do we have any greater detail on, where that would go and what that would look like?
Through the Lord Mayor, in terms of the arrangements for that, we have been clear that that would stay an operational element for Kings Park. So the components for support are about supporting whatever they do to provide mitigations that help minimise impacts in regards to parking. So in terms of the buses, for example, that's been some conversations that have been happening for a number of months. The Kings Park have been part of that. We have been, PTA. But the other element that I just want to highlight is in the proposal, following discussions, has been about the e-scooter program. So it aligns very much with conversations we've already had with the e-scooter providers about being flexible of how we can help drive people to actually be using those e-scooters to events, wherever they may be. So that's another key component that we're also aligning our current trial with.
Thank you. And final question, I think. Just with regards to part 2 of the recommendation, so we're topping up it's obviously the event's occurring over 2 financial years. So which financial year is the money drawn down from, and why are we proposing to top up the activation budget to the full extent of its previous amount?
GM.
Thank you, through you, Lord Mayor. This is intended to be an expenditure for this financial year. So the support will assist in that public transport arrangements and in terms of enhancing marketing and the like. So the funding would be for this financial year. Our activation leveraging account could not even support a 50,000 because of the expenditures we've already had. So that's why that recommendation is there in regards to the additional funding requirements. It does relate specifically to 22-23 and will be expended in 22-23. The other budget element in the city events plan that was discussed in February was relating to the 23-24 proposed budgets and the events plan, which has been endorsed by council.
So follow-up question from that, part 18 of the report, I'm reading that there's currently 164,000 in there. We're proposing to add 200,000 if it's for this financial year, then won't most of that money just not get utilised?
Thank you. That was relating to actually the budget amount for the activation and leveraging. So initially when the budget was proposed or adopted for last year, it was 130, and then we've made amendments as well through that. So that's our budget, and most of that has been fully expended in this financial year. So I was just highlighting that that was our overall budget, and it refers to the item at the start of the Special Council item, saying that, acknowledging that we have actually put a further amount of a budget of 200,000 for next year.
I just got a follow-up question, following on from one of the questions from Councillor Gordon. So the parking I was talking about, the opportunity to park close to Kings Park in West Perth, but I see boosting existing bus services to Kings Park. So what's the proposal there, GM, that we might run shuttle buses or something like that from train stations?
Through you, Lord Mayor, I'm not privy to all of the detail, but I am aware that a number of conversations have been happening for months with Kings Park PTA and ourselves in regards to this option. I'm sure that once a decision is made by council, that will provide some more clarity for Kings Park to hold further conversations with PTA.
So if you're driving with a family, you might be able to park closer in West Perth, and if you were catching the train, there might be a way to
Certainly,
get there.
all those options have been explored and have been explored for a number of months. So, yes, those levels of details and costings and opportunities have already been explored, as we said, with PTA.
Thank you. Now, anyone wishing to speak for or against, or
Just a question,
yes,
sorry.
Councillor Fleet.
So I just don't get part 1 where we're talking about in-kind public transport. We don't provide any public transport. So what does that mean?
GM.
Through you, Lord Mayor. That's really referring to the e-scooters that I've talked about. The in-kind would be some of the benefits around us adjusting potential routes and those virtual parking bays so that we can actually get more people moving from sites up to Kings Park. So as I said, those conversations have already started with the e-scooter providers in a broader strategy of being responsive to events, but that's really one of the key elements.
I'm just more confused now. So e-scooters people pay for, and that goes to the two companies that have got the scooters. So are we proposing for the e-scooters to be free during this period?
Through you, Lord Mayor. No, we're not, but we're saying that there is an in-kind benefit for people to feel that they're more accessible, that they can use the e-scooter program to facilitate their movement back up to Kings Park, noting some of the restrictions that will be in place.
Can I just jump in? So I asked about the shuttle bus and you said discussions happening, but could a shuttle bus be part of this arrangement? Might we be able to offer? Might that be something that we can offer?
Through you, Lord Mayor, we'd have to look at the dollar figure. And again, I think that's really comes to the point of recommendation 3, which allows us to, the CEO is authorised to work within these $200,000. So we can get more of that detail, which is, as I said, already being discussed, and see if that's something that could be part of the element for the 50,000. So really this proposal is giving all of the recommendations that provide some of that flexibility to talk about the detail.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just a follow-up.
Yeah,
so just so I've got it right, this proposal, if all three are passed, it's $300,000 in cash to Kings Park?
Through you, Lord Mayor, no, 200,000 is the maximum amount that would be a cash component, and as we said, the key elements are to be negotiated and as per the agreement with as authorised by the CEO.
So what does the last part of part 1 mean? And general support, $100,000 cash for the Lightscape event to the value. What does 100,000 cash mean? Who does that go to?
So in the item, we've clarified the 100,000 would go to Kings Park to assist in their event occurring, and we've made a comment in the item itself to clarify that the full amount of $200,000 would secure us the ability to be a presenting partner and provide us that opportunity in terms of the marketing as per the attachment within the Lightscape proposal, which I'll refer you to is the use of the example by Melbourne where it's powered by red energy. So if the council supports this recommendation, then really it's giving us the naming rights powered by, or the partner level sponsorship of powered by.
Let me jump in and help out. What's the most amount of money we might spend?
$200,000.
Thank you.
I think there's a typo in there's like an extra, because it says general support 100,000 cash to the value of 200,000. I think there's just.
But line 2 says additional funding of 200. So 1, we're approving 200, and then 2, we're approving additional funding of 200.
So is it reading incorrectly or are we misunderstanding, GM? I
suggest that in hindsight, potentially a comma would be better there, and general support $100,000 cash for the Lightscape event, comma, to the value of $200,000.
Okay.
Yeah, can that correction be made? I think that would clear up what Councillor Fleeton's talking about.
If we can capture that, please.
Can I ask a governance question? Why is it an absolute majority if we've already got this in the budget?
I'm going to have a crack at the answer.
Okay.
How's this? I think that's because it's in the next financial year and that the payment will be made before that. But let me double check. That's why I said I was having a crack and not actually. I didn't say it with any certainty, did I? Governance.
Through the chair, it's not a specific line item in the budget.
I'm so confused. So we've got over $134,000 left in the budget for activations this year. You don't.
As CEO, do we?
No, we don't. I think the General Manager has explained that the activation and leveraging budget is all but exhausted for 22-23.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak for or against?
I'd like to speak against, if that's okay, Lord
Councillor Bain.
I'm very supportive of the event. I think it's fantastic. I've been driving past that sign on Mounts Bay Road and Thomas Street for months, and I think I'm very excited about it. But for governance reasons, I just think it's fraught, and I'm very uncomfortable with the last-minute request for funding. I fully appreciate the fact that the administration is trying to be agile, but I think we need to sort of step back and make sure that we've crossed our T's and dotted a few more I's. We've heard tonight that it was launched last year and the event will go ahead without ratepayers' funds. So there's been a substantial amount of time between then and now for this to be presented to councillors. I don't know what the return on investment is, and I don't know what metrics the Kings Park Board Authority measures itself against, but not knowing what the total budget of the event is, not being involved in any profit share, it's really hard to responsibly say that I've supported an event not knowing what the value to ratepayers will be. As the Lord Mayor mentioned, the operator is supported by Sony. They're one of the biggest tech companies in the world. Quick Google search put them at 115 billion US. The alignment is great, but the alignment will be there for the next few years because you've signed a 5-year contract. And I think that it's not that the event isn't worthy, it's just the last minute nature of such a substantial funding request. And I'd encourage my fellow councillors to consider that when they're considering their views. And it doesn't say that a discussion can't start happening right now for next year, and maybe it will be even more funding next year depending on where you land in terms of governance, ROI, etc. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bain. Anyone else wish to speak for or against? Councillor Fleet.
Thanks, I'll speak for it. Appreciating my very confused questions before. I think this is a fantastic event and I hadn't heard of it before it was put to us. Using my other hat at Perth Racing, we've just put on an event for the first time, and in the lead up to that event you thought this risk is huge on behalf of the people who are paying the bill, but in year one you're also getting the payoff of being a part of an event at the start, and you can grow from there. I've been on council for 2.5 years and we haven't done near enough with Kings Park. We had a motion about cats. I think that was the most extensive relationship we'd had with Kings Park, but I think it's such an asset on our doorstep that we can do so much more with. Yes, Sony is there to make money, but if the proposition to them was, can you come to Perth and lose money, I don't think the event would happen. We're a massive stakeholder for Kings Park. I think our metrics are bringing people into the city. I think it's worth having a go. It's a part of the year where we don't have any plans whatsoever. To put on an event to bring in 155,000 people ourselves would cost 10 times this, and the risk would be even greater. So forgive my very confused questions, but overall I think this is worth having a crack at.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak against? For. Councillor Angie.
I'll speak for. I think I agree with Councillor Fleet, and it's a great opportunity to build the relationship with Kings Park, and we should be doing more to connect the city to Kings Park. And we talk about it all the time, but we don't actually do it. So it'd be great to see the city using this investment to try and get people into the CBD before and after the show to eat and drink and support local business before going. For me, it's not fundamental that we stick our name on it. I believe we should be promoting whatever's happening in the city, regardless if we've got our name attached to it or not. But I think this opportunity to build the relationship with Kings Park, I must say, yeah, I did share some of the concerns about the last minute nature of it, but I think another good point was raised by someone that when we've previously tried to do things in winter, we've spent 3 or 4 times as much money and delivered less than good results. And this looks like a fantastic opportunity.
Memories of Supreme Court Gardens a few years ago. I'll just close it out unless there's anything further for or against. Again, I'll just finish by saying, look, you do have to be nimble to capitalise upon these opportunities. I appreciate that it is later in the piece than might normally be the case, but it's been at the first opportunity that it's been brought to council that we are considering this, and I'm in admiration of the team for moving quickly as we need to do. The activation of spaces at quiet times, the visitors that otherwise wouldn't come, 155,000, activating West Perth, the opportunity to build the relationship with Kings Park, our unique tree canopy, highlighting it associated with Sony and Kings Park, and the sell-out success in Melbourne tells me that this is a wonderful opportunity for us to get involved in at the ground level. and I shall be supporting it and hope a majority of councillors do also. Let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Leeser, Councillor Angie, the Lord Mayor, Councillor Bevan, Councillor Gordon and Councillor Fleeton, and those against, Councillor Bain. And so, taking the absolute majority into account, that has the numbers and is passed 6 to 1. Is that correct? 6 to 1. Okay. Well, there being no further business, I now declare the special council meeting closed at precisely 4:46 p.m. Thanks, everyone.
Please all rise for the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Basil Zempilas.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.